there, welcome along to AFTV. I am stood outside the Etihad Stadium, the home of Manchester City. I did not get the email and I am here actually. What happened was I came up to Manchester yesterday. I thought I'd come up a day early. My dad actually lives up here, my brother. My dad, of course, has not been well. So I thought, you know what, playing Manchester City on Wednesday, opportunity to kill a few birds with one stone. Come up, see my parents, and then also go along to the game on Wednesday night. But woke up this morning to find out that there is no game because Manchester City versus Arsenal, which was supposed to take place today, Wednesday, has been postponed, and it's the first Premier League victim of the coronavirus virus that has been going around the whole world, really, and really has been affecting a lot of sporting events. The Premier League had remained untouched, but this is the first victim of it. The game tonight has been called off and has been postponed until a later date. And the reasoning behind it is because some of the Arsenal players came into contact with the owner of Olympiacos, who also owns Nottingham Forest. Of course, we played him a couple of weeks ago in the Europa League, and he met about 4 Arsenal players and also some other members of Arsenal Football Club, and he has tested positive for the coronavirus. He came out and he talked about it yesterday, and he has tested positive for the coronavirus. And because these Arsenal players came into contact with him, it's deemed as too much of a risk for the game to be played tonight. Those players have been told to go home and self-isolate. Now, remember, the game was a couple of weeks ago, so the actual period where they'll know whether they've got the virus or not will run out on Friday. So if by Friday they have not still tested positive for the virus, that means that they will be clear and they will be able to play in the weekend's game against Brighton. But it's deemed as too much of a risk for them to play in the game tonight and then possibly pass it on to other Arsenal players, pass it on to Manchester City players, and that would have made the situation a whole lot worse. So the sensible measure taken to cancel the game tonight, and Arsenal will not be coming here to the Etihad. At least we ain't going to lose tonight. But the game's been postponed and will be played hopefully at a later date. And again, this coronavirus is really, I don't know, it's unprecedented what is happening with this. I mean, all games in Italy, first of all, being played behind closed doors. Now all of those games postponed. Games in Greece postponed. Lots of Europa League games taking place behind closed doors. I think Manchester United's game against Olympiacos, that is taking place behind closed doors. It is just totally unprecedented what we are seeing happening in football, and what will be the knock-on effects of this first big game to be called off in the Premier League because of the coronavirus. What's going to happen to this game? Where will they be able to rearrange it for? There's already a bit of a, all teams always moaning about congestion of fixtures. And then the other thing is, can Arsenal play the game against Brighton at the weekend? Now, it's at the moment, the game is still on. The game should still be played. Probably those players should be all right because Olympiacos, interestingly, are playing their game against Manchester United. They're players that came into contact with the owner. They've all tested negative for the virus, so they're all right to play. So presume that the Arsenal players will all be all right. But let's just say one of those 4 players are positive. That means that every single Arsenal player, every single player that they've come into contact with at the training ground, any official, anybody to do with Arsenal, and any player that any of those players would have come into contact with in recent times will have to self-isolate, and that will just trigger mass cancellations. That means the game on Saturday would have to be cancelled, and it could have implications for a whole host of games. Anybody who played in the West Ham game against Arsenal, their game would be cancelled. Anybody who's coming to... It's just... a bit scary, the whole thing that's happening at the moment, and we are in a real period of uncertainty when it comes to football. Will the Premier League season make it to the end? I saw, interestingly, yesterday in Italy, they're talking about the fact that the season, they might just scrap the season. They might, they're going to have such a fixture congestion, and there's so many problems in Italy. Of course, we've seen that the whole of Italy is in lockdown at the moment, that basically they might just say, listen, we're just going to cancel Serie A for this season. And the knock-on effects, as I said, if this thing starts spreading, could be disastrous for football. I mean, the Premier League clubs will lose a lot of money, but they'll probably all be able to, weather this. But clubs lower down the football pyramid, if they have to start cancelling games, they're more reliant on, the money that they get from fans coming in on a match day. It could be absolutely disastrous for them, and it could possibly see some clubs go under. And, there's a lot of implications to this whole coronavirus, COVID-19. And it is really, really frightening at the moment. And we're in a period of real uncertainty. At the moment, all matches are still going ahead. All matches are still being played. But as I said, it's a real period of uncertainty. And who are those players that have come into contact with the Greek owner? What must they be feeling right now? I mean, psychologically, they've all got families. They must be worried as hell, to think to themselves, what if I have tested positive for this? All my family are going to have to self-isolate. Could this have knock-on effects to, my family? Because people have died from this. Let's not, football, we all love football, and football's important to our everyday lives as fans, but people have died from this, and there's more important things right now than actual playing of games of football. And the health of everybody who comes to games, the health of everybody in general is more important than a football game. But wow, it's massive news. It's massive news. And for a game of this magnitude, Manchester City versus Arsenal, massive game, would have been showed worldwide and had a massive worldwide audience. It's going to have real knock-on effect and really send shockwaves around the world of football. And I think we could be approaching that area where you start seeing some of these Premier League games being played behind closed doors. It's really going to depend on how this thing escalates. We saw it in Italy, the way it's just blown up. At the moment, it seems to be not as bad here in England, but who knows what it might be in 2 weeks' time, because they're saying at the moment we're sort of in the containment phase over here in the UK. What if things get worse? Will games have to be played behind closed doors? I don't have any answers right now, and I really love to find out how you guys feel about the whole thing. Are you scared? Are you frightened to go to games right now because you're thinking, I might go next to a guy and he starts coughing and I don't know what he's got. I don't know who he's been in contact with as he's just come back from Italy. You just don't know. Forget Italy. I mean, it could be anybody here. It's so uncertain at the moment, and really hard to judge. And I'll tell you the other thing. With all this talk of playing games behind closed doors, I hope clubs like Manchester City and our club Arsenal and all the other clubs in the Premier League, I've heard a lot of talk this week about, it's not the same behind closed doors without the fans. I hope that one of the things that might come out of this is that clubs now start to really value the importance of having fans. It's all right playing a game in a place like this, but if there's no fans in there and it's empty, it is not the same game. And we've seen that with some of the games they've played in Italy. We've seen that with some of the games that have been played and are going to be played in the Europa League, where there's going to be no fans. It is not the same. So football clubs, when we get beyond this, hopefully we do start valuing the fans, because football without fans is not football. There is no football without fans. And I think that is the one thing that we've been able to see with this whole coronavirus thing. But hey, the game is off. it is what it is. There's more important things, as I said, than football, and that is the health of everybody in this country. That is way more important than Manchester City taking on Arsenal. That is way more important than me and you missing this game tonight. And let's hope we can conquer this virus and get back to normality. Love to hear your comments on it. Leave it in the comments below. And listen, stay safe out there.